It's almost as if it's a toxic relationship where you with a partner who's been toxic with you throughout, and then when the partner leaves you, you realize, listen, this is what I'm addicted to. This is almost 50 Shades of Grey. Naughty, we cannot see all this, but no, we're just having fun out here.
Jagdeep Dhankhar's shock resignation on day one of the monsoon session is, of course, trending right now everywhere over the past several days. And on Trending with Tehseen, we are going to talk about exactly that, Tehseen. It was a normal day. It happened quite suddenly, out of the blue. Suddenly, he chairs the morning session in the Rajya Sabha. In the evening, 9:30, he resigns. So suddenly, there were a lot of talking points that day but for the monsoon session, but the talking points changed.
Totally. And I think the government totally did not like that. In the morning, the Prime Minister spoke to the media before the Parliament sessions started, and he said, look, Operation Sindoor will be discussed and it should be a celebration in Parliament. Everyone should come together. That is what the Prime Minister wanted the headlines to be. And instead, come evening, Jagdeep Ji's resignation is now the headlines.
So this out of syllabus thing, there are a lot of conspiracy theory doing the rounds, including the fact that Shashi Tharoor is going to be the next vice president. That's one of the many theories that are circulating. Of course, after his very, very public fallout with the Congress. But we'll come to Shashi Tharoor in a bit. But first, your thought on the change talking points on that particular day, and why is the opposition suddenly so much in love with Dhankar?
It's almost as if it's a toxic relationship where you with a partner who's been toxic with you throughout, and then when the partner leaves you, you realize, listen, this is what I'm addicted to. This is almost 50 Shades of Grey. Naughty, we cannot see all this, but no, we're just having fun out here. Yeah. But look, the fact of the matter is, this was brewing for some time. Now, let me give you some inside gossip, and this is especially for our Times of India subscribers and viewers. So what happened is, the vice president in protocol is number 2. But he also started believing that he actually is number 2 in the country, because actually we know that the country is run by the Prime Minister. That's the constitutional frame. So there were small skirmishes here and there from top sources. I can't name my sources. One was, he just didn't want the president and the Prime Minister's pictures in all functions. He wanted even his picture should be put up. The vice president's pictures cannot be put up. There was second, that the cars in the Prime Minister's security convoy should also be extended to the vice president of India. Now, the Prime Minister has a completely different security protocol. That's the SPG. The President, Vice President are taken care differently. The President by the President's bodyguards. You cannot mix the two up. The SPG has its own protocols, as we know about it. So you can't mix it up, and he was upset. But these were skirmishes. I think the government was very uncomfortable with him taking on the judiciary continuously. We know in the last session, he asked the law minister suddenly what's happening with laws to do with taming the judiciary, and the government didn't want confrontation with the judiciary. But I think what really two things that broke the proverbial camel's back was his meeting with Arvind Kejriwalji a day prior. In that meeting, again, top sources tell me, he told the former chief minister, you must take the Rajya Sabha. Now, the chief minister says, look, I have promised that I'm not coming to the Rajya Sabha if this seat will be given to somebody else. And he says, listen, you promised that you won't go with the Congress. You promised you won't take a big house. You have to be here. And then he goes on to tell the former chief minister, if you come in the Rajya Sabha, you will de facto become the leader of the opposition, though Khargeji is, because everyone will gravitate towards you. So in a way, he was giving Arvind Kejriwal the signal, yes, that come there, and he would allow Arvind Kejriwalji to take on the government. And Arvind Kejriwalji, in that sense, is a good orator. If that didn't piss off the government enough, it's the next day what happens. We know that the Justice Verma impeachment motion was to come in the Lok Sabha. We know that the members of parliament from both the treasury and the opposition in the Lok Sabha had signed it, including LOP Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi ji. What happens here is, now the opposition signed 50, 60 signatures they get for the Rajya Sabha. And suddenly the vice president of India, the chairperson Rajya Sabha, not only accepts this, he starts the proceedings. This really got the BJP rattled, because this was the BJP's agenda and they wanted to bring this into the Lok Sabha. Suddenly bringing this into the Rajya Sabha had everybody rattled
down very well.
No.
And probably judiciary is one of the big things that he himself has been very, very vocal about over the past several years now, being a former Supreme Court lawyer himself. But tell me something, Tehseen. These are all speculations, right? These are all speculations that this happened, that happened. There is also the reason that he gave, the medical reason. Clearly, that's lost out in the link. But having said that, he did have a problem. Did have in Himachal when he was in Nainital, I think several months ago, he complained of chest pain. He'd been hospitalized. So it's not that he didn't have health problems, but nobody's buying that.
Nobody will. In the old Soviet Union, or even in present day China, if they have to remove somebody, the resignation is simple one line, two line due to health reasons, and nobody says anything more. Now, we wish the outgoing vice president the best of health, but this isn't about health. We know that if this was about health, he wouldn't have chaired the first day of the monsoon session. He had the BAC meeting the next day. He was scheduled to go to Jaipur.
Yeah.
That
And
was
his calendar was chalked out for the entire week, apparently.
on the 10th
Right.
of this month. So if he was unwell and he wanted to resign, he would do it prior to the monsoon session, not after the Prime Minister spoken in Parliament and wants to celebrate Operation Sindoor as a Vijay victory. Not after that and take away headlines. You don't do that.
Okay, let me just gravitate a little and talk about the opposition strategy here, the Congress. I mean, we'll probably never know what really happened because uh, uh, Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, they keep things very close to their chest. Now, who's going to be the next leader? And one of the names being talked about is Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor, who had a very public falling out or has even had a very public falling out even the last several days with the Congress over his Operation Sindoor outreach in various countries, part of the government delegation. What is your view about Tharoor's fallout with the Congress? The very public spat that's playing out. It leaves a very bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the Congress politically is not making the right political moves. And I'm a Congress voter. Let me put this out to you viewers. Let's even go first to the vice president. And we saw the prime minister's tweet was more cold in winters in the North Pole. And this is the prime minister who's very warm. You know, J.D. Vance's family, people who go to meet the prime minister. He's a very warm person in personal life. That tweet said a lot more. And suddenly the Congress has made him his BFF. Yeah. The vice president who was in an abusive relationship with the opposition. And 6 months ago, they wanted to impeach him. Suddenly now, they're like, oh, this is the love of our life. So, like I said, toxic relationship. But look, the Congress lost the plot. What the Congress should have done with the vice president is said, this is I told you so moment. So they should have told the government, we told you this guy is not right. You still went ahead with him. Now you have to remove him. You're not telling us why. Look, you got to listen to us. You don't listen to us on anything. And that would have given the opposition legitimacy. When the opposition suddenly started singing praises about the outgoing vice president, nobody was buying that, just like nobody's buying that the vice president is unwell. Which brings us to the second point. Politically, Dr. Tharoor did a fantastic job when he sent to represent India. And if you go to represent India, you don't represent Modi ji or Rahul Gandhi ji, Congress or BJP. You represent India. So you put India's point forward. What else would he do? And look, he did get success in the US. The whole branding of PRF as Lashkar-e-Toiba happened because of Dr. Tharoor's outreach with Marco Rubio, Milingora's outreach with J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance's personal family equation with Prime Minister Modi. And that's what turned the tide. So there was success there. Even in Colombia, they got success. Congress should have just taken credit. Look, ultimately, you need our man to do it. We are the guys. We ultimately stood up. Why would you disown somebody who's done something good and everybody's praising it? Having said that, Dr. Tharoor wants to be the face of Kerala. Now, I get that he may not be the most popular face in Kerala, so there's a survey which says he is, but that may or may not be true. And I get that, and the Congress may not want him to make him the chief minister face. And that's fine. You can have your ambitions, your rivalries, and you may not give somebody something. But Dr. Tharoor has helped. At least give him a bigger role in the central leadership. At least allow him to open the debate. Now, imagine when the debate opens next Monday on Operation Sindoor and prior to that, Pahalgam. And the same Dr. Tharoor gets up and asks the government on the intelligence failure in Pahalgam, which is an intelligence failure. Manoj Sinha's accepted it. The Home Ministers accepted it in the old party meeting. That gives you substance, gravitas, it gives you credibility, and it doesn't show you to be anti-army. Who better than Dr. Tharoor to open that debate? But what is the Congress doing? They're rejecting him. And who are the people who are rejecting him? Those in Delhi who are making statements against him can't win their own society election. He's a 4-time Lok Sabha MP. And those who speak arrogantly or think they are Einsteins can't win their own society election. These are the people who are running him down. That's not cool. He has a vote bank which transcends the traditional Congress vote bank. He has the women who really look up to him. He has a younger audience. He has a lot of middle class that tend to vote BJP that come with him. He does bring in a cross section of society that could be BJP workers or fence sitters, voters of fence sitters. So let's encourage him. He's getting you a plus. He's not taking away anything from your traditional vote bank. Nobody can doubt that Tharoor is not secular or he's anti minorities. So he's a liberal, secular voice who's getting an additional fence sitting vote bank. Why would you not add it?
Absolutely, and especially now when there is so much of positive sentiment with regard to Tharoor after he's gone out with these government delegations to various countries and made India proud and sort of put forward India's point on Operation Sindoor. But having said that, but Congress seems to have been getting it wrong even in the parliament. Over the last 3 days that we've seen, instead of making legitimate points, there's just been uproar. There's just been, there were many talking points in this monsoon session that they could have talked about, but they did not. Instead, there is a lot of drama element rather than any actual will to debate or discuss issues. What's happening?
That I completely blame the opposition for. It is true the government doesn't want parliament to function because the government doesn't want to be on the mat. But that works to the government's advantage.
Playing into their hands.
Exactly. The opposition should nail them. This, and I said this a few days ago, is the most important parliament session for India in the last 4 or 5 years. Look at the background of what we have. Pahalgam, Operation Sindoor, Bihar and the Election Commission, Air India, the investigation into Air India, collapsing infrastructure, our immediate neighborhood, Bangladesh in particular, Iran, West Asia, Israel and Syria. We have investments in Syria, our overall foreign policy, BRICS, US going after BRICS, our trade deal with the US, Russia. We have so many things to discuss, such important things. And what are we doing? We are doing protests. If you get the government on the mat, if you raise the right questions, the government will find it difficult to answer. You have even the questions about President Trump, etc., can be raised with dignity, with gravitas, without name calling, and you force the government to answer. That is how you get parliament to your advantage, to work to your advantage. By simply protesting now, it's looking to the common person as spoiled people. Don't do that. Use this forum to get the government on the mat. People of India want answers. Even within Delhi, there's a demolition going on. There's the towing away of cars, which is a huge issue. People are so upset about it. People are upset with this government. It is easy to get them on the mat if you allow for discussion.
And they are not. The opposition is not allowing for that discussion, largely because you're too busy fighting smaller battles and sort of making it more about politics. But let's hope that changes on Monday. Are you hopeful where there's a discussion on Operation Sindoor now planned in Parliament?
Yes, I really hope that this discussion goes well. The opposition raises the right questions without being insulting, without humiliating the chair. Ask the right questions, ask tough questions, research your stuff well, and then put the government on the mat.
You think that will happen?
That so far seems
I'm going to
difficult.
play this clip for you
Because-
on Monday evening.
Yeah, because there's no need to scream, shout, name call. You can do the same thing in a dignified manner. On the other hand, when the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, and the Home Minister, these are the three you're going to speak on Pahalgam, particularly when the Prime Minister comes back from UK and Maldives. He's going to use Parliament to speak about how Operation Sindoor is a success, right? The Prime Minister is going to do that. Allow the Prime Minister to speak. Hear him out, and then the leader of opposition can get up and ask him tough questions. But again, for that, you have to do research, you have to have your questions ready, you have to have your points ready. So that is what will the people of India want. When Parliament functions, there is no better sight in democracy than two groups, the treasury and the opposition, going at each other, but with substance.
With dignity or substance.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
Sir Tehseen. Viewers, I hope you liked this episode of Trending with Tehseen. This is the first episode we are dropping, but stay tuned. Next week, same time, same channel. Come back here and we'll bring you the second episode of Trending with Tehseen.